Kabul, August 29, 1928. A gathering of tribal elders, the Loya Jirga. The king gives a speech, then he turns to his wife and asks her to remove her veil. In front of everyone, she does, and the wives of the tribal elders follow her. Her name, Soraya Tarzi, Queen of Afghanistan. There are moments that look like victories, and still mark the beginning of the end. Soraya Tarzi was queen of a country she wanted to transform from the ground up for 10 years. She opened schools, gave speeches, sent girls to universities. She stood before the most powerful men in Europe, without a veil, without apology, and then, within weeks, it was all gone. The question is not what she did. The question is why it wasn't enough. Born on November 24, 1899 in Damascus, not in Afghanistan, but in exile. Her family had been banished because of her father's ideas. Mahmoud Tarzi, intellectual, journalist, nationalist, a man who believed Afghanistan had to modernize to survive, that women were part of that. That education was not an exception, but an obligation. He was Soraya's first and most important teacher. Her mother, Azma Razmia, was no less extraordinary. Editor, headmistress, a woman who pushed boundaries herself at a time when that was nearly impossible. Soraya grows up between these two in the old alleys of Damascus. Between Ottoman culture, Arab scholars, European ideas, her father gives her what almost no girl of her time received, a serious education, history, languages, philosophy, political thought, and he gives her something even more important, the conviction that tradition is not an argument. When Soraya is a teenager, things change in Kabul. A new king, Habibullah Khan, allows the exiles to return. The Tarzi family comes back, and Soraya meets the king's son, Prince Amanullah, an admirer of her father's ideas. They marry on August 30, 1913, at the Kamibagh Palace in Kabul. Soraya is 14 years old. He takes no second wife. That alone breaks centuries of tradition. For 6 years she is a princess. No queen, no power. But she reads, debates, prepares, as if she knew what was coming. February 20th, 1919. Habibullah Khan is murdered on a hunting trip. Amanullah takes the throne. Soraya, 19 years old, becomes Queen of Afghanistan and makes it clear immediately she will not be an ordinary queen. One of the first things Amanullah does as king, he dissolves the harem. The women who lived there are released, free. It is a signal, and it comes from both of them. She appears with her husband in public, as the first, as the only one. She attends cabinet meetings, military parades, state receptions. During the War of Independence against the British, she visits the tents of the wounded. She talks to them, brings gifts, stays until she has to move on. The king says publicly, "I am your king, but the Minister of Education is my wife, your queen." In 1921, she opens the Masterat School, Kabul's first school for girls. Among the first students, her own daughters. In 1924, follows the country's first women's hospital. She founds the Anjuman-e-Himayat-e-Niswan, an organization where women could turn to someone outside their own family. Nothing like it had ever existed in Afghanistan. In 1926, she is appointed Minister of Education. That same year, she delivers a speech at the 7th anniversary of independence. She wears a diadem with 7 diamond stars and says, "Independence belongs to all of us." Do you think our country needs only men from the very beginning? Women must also play their part, just as women did in the early years of our nation. The room goes silent. Some hold their breath, others lean forward. And then, at the end of the speech, she removes her veil. In the middle of the room, in front of hundreds, the wives of the officials present follow her immediately. In 1927, she co-founds Afghanistan's first women's magazine with her mother, Irshad-i-Niswan, Guidance for Women. In 1928, she sends 15 young women to universities in Turkey, every measure of victory, every school an argument, and then the royal couple travels to Europe, December 1927 to July 1928. 6 months. Cairo, Paris, Berlin, London, Oxford. In Cairo, they are received with full state honors. In Paris, she rides through the streets. The crowd cheers, tens of thousands. Newspapers report on her wardrobe, her bearing, her words. In Berlin, Hindenburg receives her at the Lehrter Bahnhof. Amanullah visits Krupp, Siemens, AEG, the industry Afghanistan never had. Soraya is present at every reception, without a veil, in Western dress. Seated as an equal where women did not sit. Statesmen speak with her, not about her. In Oxford, the royal couple receives an honorary doctorate. Soraya herself gives a speech before students and university leaders. At dinner with statesmen, French Foreign Minister Briand kisses her hand. And it is precisely these images that become her undoing. The photographs show a woman without a veil, in European dress, smiling beside foreign men, a Frenchman's hand on hers. The British distribute them deliberately, not in Kabul, where the trip was. Understood, but in the tribal regions, in the villages, among the elders. For conservative mullahs and tribal leaders, a betrayal of culture, religion, honor. While Soraya is celebrated in London, the first opposition gathers in the provinces. The couple returns in July 1928, determined to continue. August 29, 1928. The Loya Jirga. Soraya removes her veil. In public, it is her strongest moment, and the beginning of the end. It was different in 1926. Back then, the room was filled with capital officials. Their wives followed her. Now, men from every corner of the country are sitting in that room, men who will go home tomorrow and talk. The tribal elders return home and report what they have seen. In November 1928, the uprising breaks out. A leader from the mountains north of Kabul, Habibullah Kalakani, called Bacha Ye. Sakao, by his followers, son of the water carrier, marches on the capital with armed men. The tribal leaders issue a demand. Amanullah must repudiate Soraya, banish the entire Tarzi family. He refuses. The king tries to appease them, closes girls' schools, lifts the ban on polygamy, dissolves secular courts, everything Soraya had built, dismantled within weeks. It is not enough. January 14, 1929, Kabul falls. Amanullah abdicates. He hands power to his half-brother, who holds on for 3 days, then also flees. Amanullah retreats to Kandahar, tries to gather troops, to organize a counteroffensive. The soldiers desert, supplies run out. By spring 1929, this last attempt collapses too. It is finally over. The family flees. On the road through India, thousands line the streets. Women call her name. Not Queen, just Soraya. In India, her last child comes into the world. They name her Princess India, after the country where she is born. Rome. Exile. They live there together until 1953. Then Amanullah moves to Zurich. Soraya stays in Rome. Why is not known. He dies on April 25, 1960, in Zurich. She lives 8 more years, alone, in Rome. Soraya Tarzi dies on April 20, 1968, 68 years old. Her coffin is escorted by the Italian military to the airport, a state funeral in Jalalabad. They are buried side by side in the city from which they once fled. Princess India, born in India, raised in Rome, later becomes honorary cultural, ambassador of Afghanistan to Europe. She fights for the rights of the women of her country, because her parents showed her how. She was born in exile. She died in exile. In between 10 years in which she changed a country and a world that was not yet ready.